That imprinting scene, like I like get emotional just thinking about it. Like as a mom, like that's huh, it's like so heartbreaking that sorry, that you would have this like animal think that you're its mom, and then you see it getting mistreated like that, and then you have to leave and you can never see this animal again, and it's like whew. What's the difference between like someone that like hurts and like feels this and recognizes that this is like a living, loving creature that has social bonds to people who are like this is a dollar sign? Like where's the difference between that? Because you see that a lot at like a lot of these parks, whether it's like a marine park or a zoo, and then the people at the top are just so disconnected from what's actually happening. It's like, do they ever participate in like the vet checks or the training or like the play? Like, are they just so far removed from those daily activities that it's easier for them, or do
Just a
you?
complete disconnect. It's just a disconnect that when your best interest is the bottom line, you have to answer to somebody. My answering was to the vets and ultimately eventually to management, and management's decisions were push 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 all the time. It just wasn't, there was a complete disconnect. And whereas I was trying to represent the interests of the animals, and I thought that I was a valuable voice in that capacity, I thought that's why you wanted me. I thought you wanted me for my expertise in telling you what it is that's in the interest of the best animals. And I say my expertise because over time I became an expert. I knew those animals better than anyone. I say this not as a spiteful person who wants to, hey, I was the best. No, because the veterinarians will have told you, I mean, it's well documented. I was the best. I had that
Mhm.
relationship with those animals, man, that I loved them. I did feel myself the luckiest person on the planet to be able to be so close to them, but that
Mhm.
is a double-edged sword, right? That's why I try very often tell people, don't attack the people that are working at Marineland. First off, they're trying to put food on their table, and the struggle to survive is personal and greater than anyone that you and I can judge anyone else for. So we leave it as such out of the gates, but because first off, it should be noted, these aren't high paying jobs. Okay. These
Mhm.
people aren't living in a lap of luxury. It's a one thing but it's not. So the struggle is real over there to begin with. And if you love animals, then getting out of the business is just as difficult as it is getting in. And getting in's tough. I mean, at least when I started, there are a lot of people that wanted that job. And
Mhm.
we were reminded all the time that, look, if you don't like it, there's the door. There's 1,000 people waiting outside those gates, waiting just to sign their name on a dotted line and kick your ass out. It's just like, wow, you're reminded that on a daily basis by Marineland, and the likes of SeaWorld. It's a very
Mhm.
cult-like environment. So when you're young, it's tough. I mean, it's a fun place to work. But man, did the world change? It changed fast, and now what's happened is it's given power to not just the consumer in that, because we've always had the power to vote
Mhm.
with our dollars. The question becomes, what is it that we're supporting? And these days, the message is no longer merely a jingle on a commercial or some bullshit science segment where a scientist comes over and shows you a bunch of footage of animals in the wild and then pets an animal at Marineland with a trainer and attributes it to some level of science and stuff. No. These days, people like me, former employees, people that know and had access to information and provides, like I have videos and footage and whatnot. We are now, like in my example, I've become a sort of media empire on its own just by virtue of being able to use social media and through the various contacts I've made through all of this. We really have been empowered. So the corporations are out there and they always controlled the message. The
Mhm.
jingle was cute, the jumping of the whales. You were there. You were there as a
Yep.
child. You bought it.
Yeah,
As a
of
child, this was
course.
magical, right? You
Mhm.
wanted to do what I did. What's crazy about all that is they sold you this idea of these magical relationships that didn't exist. And yet I actually have it. I'm the one guy who has that
Mhm.
weird magical relationship that everyone wants with an animal. I got it.
Mhm.
And I can assure you it's a curse because it's a perspective changing thing, but it's also life altering. You mentioned being a mom and you immediately started to tear up at the prospect of that feeling. I never felt anything the likes of this. I've had
Mhm.
cats and dogs and I love them. Don't take anything away from what I'm saying here, but there's nothing like what I felt when I imprinted on that animal, and to see the level of urgency in her wanting to be with me and knowing what it means for me to be with her, and now attributing that to every other animal there that's been ripped away from their mom, but
Ugh.
we didn't know the extent and the power of it because we didn't have the experience. Here it is, it's on display, it's there. So that changed me, man. I became a mom in a way, right? I'm not a dad. I don't
Mhm.
have children. That's been my experience of what it's like having one. So this is like it's sort of hostage like. So you can imagine where it is that I dig. People say, man, you have to dig deep to endure this thing. It's like, to be quite honest, it's been easy. It's like that mother who lifts the car off their trapped child. One arm, those moms are lifting those cars up. I feel the same way. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders to pursue this, and it's the pleasure of my life.
So when that imprinting happened, were you aware of like the exact moment? Like, did you feel anything? No.
I felt something in that. This is weird. I took note of it because I'd never seen anything like that. It was all sort of like this simultaneous and weird thing. It was like this large breath. So you saw the nostrils, but then you saw something in the eyes where she looked up at me, and the look was different. Whereas before it was looking around, panic. Now it was staring directly in my eyes and always wanting to reach her face up at me. Always. It was that change. I didn't know what it meant, but she was following me everywhere. But also bear in mind, at the time, there was chaos happening everywhere. There's this chaotic scene. So while I'm trying to tell someone like, hey, look, she keeps following me, everyone's sort of wrestling another walrus, and it's chaos. So by the time it all had settled and was said and done, and I'm trying to tell people what had happened, like, hey, look, we'd already, we decided to go for lunch or whatever. The procedure was done. I'm talking about people like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. I assumed it was said and done. You don't think anything of it. In the background, I'm hearing an incessant barking. Someone's calling for her mom. What the hell is that? I go out there. She sees me. Now she wants to be with me every waking moment of every hour of every day. And it's an obsession. Holy shit. What has just happened?
Wow. So on a podcast I was listening to, it said that you took a little bit of a break and traveled a bit and came back. Was part of that because of the ecosystem? Like you just needed to get out of that environment?
Yeah, I started in 2000. I remember when our first whale died, about a week later, maybe even less, I'd asked, hey, listen, I need to just go take a few days off. And they gave it to me. So I went away for 10 days. That was, again, that was in 2000. This was early. 2003 rolls around. It's not just one animal dying, it's a few. And now I don't really sleep at night. I'm just, and it should be noted, I'm already a sort of like hyper anxious dude, like depression issues, all this stuff. I mean, everyone in retrospect, I would like to have known what a healthy me could be like. I didn't know at the time, but here I was in my environment and working with my, in the compromised self that I was. But I was already, these deaths and these scenes affected me. I don't like seeing blood, stuff like this. So I had asked management, like, look, I've got an opportunity. I had a friend who lived in South Korea, and he just said, dude, come on over here. Like, just get over here and come spend 6 months, a year, whatever. You can find a job. I didn't have a university degree. So, to work legally in South Korea, you would have had to have had, I didn't have nothing. And I just bought a ticket, but it was with Marineland's, they gave me their support and their blessing to leave. And I did. I left for just shy of a year, went to South Korea, did some teachings, I did some traveling, Japan, Thailand, all the entire area. And while I was in Thailand, my then girlfriend and I were considering actually staying, but it was because I had made the promise to Marineland that I would return. I said, I said I would. I'm not going to abandon. I'm going to go back. And you wonder sometimes when those decisions in life, but my decision to go back obviously changed. But to be fair, 6 months later to the date that we left, the island of Koh Phi Phi got hit by a tsunami that wiped it out. It would have wiped out exactly where we were planning on staying. So it was like kind of this weird fate situation that it was absolutely best that we'd left.